Welcome to a realm where personal growth meets expansive spirituality and where we're not just scratching the surface. We're diving deep, widening our perspectives, and having a darn good time doing it. This is the Enlightening podcast, and I am your host, Jen Hamilton. You'll enjoy an infusion of motivation, empowerment, and inspiration that will resonate in every aspect of your life. Expect captivating stories, heartfelt musings, and my own personal experiences. But that's not all. I'm bringing awe-inspiring individuals to the table, so get ready to meet some remarkable souls whose wisdom and stories will leave you spellbound. No topic is off limits here. Brace yourself for raw authenticity, unfiltered vulnerability, and yes, the occasional splash of explicit language. We're delving into the realms of the esoteric, mystical, and the woo-woo, unafraid to explore the extraordinary. So if you are ready to venture beyond the surface, to explore the depths of your soul, and to awaken the magic of life, if your heart says yes, then hit that play button and let the Enlighten podcast guide you on this remarkable expedition. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Enlighten podcast. I'm your host, Jen, and my guest today is Vivi Wilds. Vivi is an adventure lover, a world traveler who has been to over 70 countries. She guides women to experience life deeper through adventure, creating the wildest experiences and making memories that fill their heart and soul. She's written several books and is the host of Explore to Evolve, a travel podcast. Her motto is make life the biggest adventure. Vivi is so full of life and energy. I know you're absolutely going to love the conversation that we got to have. So without further ado, let's dive in. Hello, Vivi, and welcome to the Enlighten podcast. How are you today?
I am so good, Jen. How are you?
I'm amazing. It's so funny because we're just about to come into summer here. Yet it's like overcast and it's actually cold. I've got my jacket over my legs because I'm like in shorts and a singlet, and I'm thinking, oh, I probably should have like dressed a bit more appropriately because it's actually quite cool today. So it's a nice change from the heat we've been having.
It's so funny to me. I love talking to people in Australia because we already had snow 2 times this month. And I'm like, I'm not ready for winter yet because I'm in Canada, right? So winter is just it's about to get crazy here.
Yeah, I bet. It's so funny. I was talking to someone from Canada the other day and we were saying just like the contrast between like Australia and Canada. Like we don't experience winter here like you experience winter. Like she was saying, oh, it's like minus 30, like Celsius when it's like the depths of winter. And I cannot even comprehend that. I get cold when it's 12 degrees Celsius here. I don't know how you guys do that wintry thing over there.
It's like you get used to it, but honestly, like we have days where it's 0 degrees and then the next day it's minus 30. And that contrast is huge. And you can never predict weather. You look outside and you're like, it's a beautiful day. It's sunny, blue sky. You want to go out and it's like, oh my God, it's minus 30 and you're freezing your fingers and your toes. And the next day it's overcast, it's cloudy. It's like, it looks like the ugliest day and it's 3 degrees. And you're like, how?
Even 3 degrees, I can't comprehend how that's like a lovely day.
In winter it is, and then you will see people wearing shorts when it's like 5 degrees because the difference is so high that it actually feels like it's warm.
When it gets down to like minus 30, like how is it? Like I know cold, I guess like I've been to like Ballarat, which is like country Victoria, which was probably like maybe 4 degrees or something. How does it get more and more cold? And I just don't understand. Like I just assume that cold is cold, but can you feel the difference between like say minus 10 and minus 30?
You do in a way where once your fingers get cold and your feet get cold, it's a pain as if you get like needles stuck into your fingers. It's a pain, I would say. Once I went hiking at minus 30 degrees, it was my first time in Canada. I'm like, I'm an adventurer. Let's go out and let's embrace the cold. Worst idea ever. I got a frostbite. I couldn't move my feet for a while. It was the worst pain I have ever experienced. And it's funny because sometimes your eyelashes or your hair freezes. And you can literally just like move your hair and it makes little clingy noises as if you're playing music. It's it's fun if you embrace it and if you see it as an adventure. Like I do little bubbles for like Instagram and stuff, and they freeze and it makes beautiful little like creatures. It's amazing. But you have to be in the mood for it and you have to be dressed appropriately because otherwise you will suffer. And there's plenty of people in this country that suffer the whole winter.
Oh, I cannot even comprehend that. Like I've not seen snow in my life. We just don't get snow here. And I've never been to the snow. I'd love to go to the snow. I'd love to go to Canada, but I would struggle. Like I'm not in love with the cold at all. Sometimes it's so hot in Brisbane that I might go, south for a week to Victoria to see friends and family, or, Adelaide, and it's like coolish there, and I'm like, oh, this is so nice. It's a break from the heat, but it's still like 10 degrees. Like it's not even cold. Like I've never experienced such cold. I do ice baths, and that for me is an edge because I'm such a warm person. Like even in summertime, I'm like, oh, I could go a jacket or a blanket.
Yeah.
Like I'm always sort of cold on the inside. So to put myself like in a cold country to live, I just don't think that's possible for me.
Come and experience it. Like I always said, if I would move somewhere else, I would have never chosen Canada. Like Canada kind of chose me. But once you embrace it, once you experience it and you get used to it, it can kind of be fun. So come anytime, stay with me, and see how it is.
Done. I will book a ticket now.
I'm
This is one
excited.
of the things that I actually love about podcasting is I meet so many people from around the world, and they're like, just come and visit and stay. And funnily enough, I've actually got one of my guests coming to Australia soon, and I'm taking her out and showing her around Queensland, and I'm so excited for it. Like it's so cool to be able to meet people online, and then they just become like instant friends, and they host you in their home.
Yeah, that's the best part of it. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
yeah. Now, you mentioned that you're an adventurer and you're a travel consultant and mentor. Tell us about this magic that you bring to the world.
Yeah, so you already said what I do, which is basically just helping people live their life more, experience their life more, create more memories, and really travel in a way that lights them up. Because, oh, you already said, like, you can go to the cool places and you're like, well, it's not really my jam. But making these experiences, these adventures, these travel really fit to you, really making them in a way where you remember them, where it's like the perfect fit for who you are and the place that you go to, really creating these magical memories. It's a craft and it's a skill, and it's a lot of times not something you can just book online in like a tour office or with a tour company. So you
Mm.
really need to know yourself. You really need to know what you want, what you enjoy, what kind of experience you want to create, and that really deepens your travel experience. So that is basically what I do.
I love it. And how long have you been doing this for?
So I've been a traveler pretty much all my life. My parents took me hiking to Nepal when I was 5 years old, and since 5 years, I've been helping people travel in a deeper, better, more aligned way.
Wow. And what do you find like is the most magical thing about traveling?
You know, I love when you go to different places and you find different parts and pieces of you. Like you mentioned earlier, you're like, well, I can't imagine living in the cold place because you know you in the warm place. You know, like there's this defined persona, who you are, the way you dress, who you're being. But then if you put yourself into a different environment, like for example, Africa, and you're going on a safari, who you are and what comes out of you is like a different, not a different version, but there's different parts and pieces of you that come out. Same as if you go to Paris and like you're the cosmopolitan, you know, in the big city, fashion city, completely different. And if you go to Mexico or Argentina, like the version of you that comes out is different. And that's what I really love about travel, because there's so many sides and versions and pieces of us that really don't come out in our day-to-day life.
Yes. And in my limited travel, like I've been to a few places. I've been to Bali a couple of times. I've been to Fiji, Vanuatu, Vietnam. And then earlier this year, I was in London and Paris and then the south of France. And you are so right that you meet a new version of yourself every time. And I remember, so Vietnam was my first travel experience. I was just about to turn 21 and I went over with my mom because my sister was living over there teaching English. My mom's like, I'll take you over for your 21st. And oh my God, Vivi, I got off the plane and I was like, get me back to Australia. Like it was the biggest culture shock. Like it was hot, it was humid, it was smelly, it was loud. The food, everything was spicy and I can't do spicy food. Like the food was, I was so not dropped into culture at this point. I literally went everywhere where I could try and get spaghetti bolognese. Like that was, I didn't drop into the Vietnamese experience too well because I was just not primed for travel. I had no idea what to expect. And I was so conditioned to my own lifestyle. And man, that trip cracked me wide open. And there was so many things that I experienced there and so many just magical moments that opened my eyes in a different way. And not only that, the people that you get to meet along the way as well. Like when you do tours or you're out on boats or, you're out at events and stuff, the people that you get to meet, it's just phenomenal. Like I love it. And I'm so excited to travel more now that the world's opened up in the last couple of years again. I've kind of got a travel bug, and especially after, going overseas earlier this year and meeting new versions of myself, like it's been such an eye opener, and I can see how people get so addicted to it.
Do you have a favorite memory of one of your travels?
Oh, what a great question. Yes, I do. So that was in the south of France. Earlier this year, I went to the Cave of Mary Magdalene, and I was on a Mary Magdalene retreat over there. And so the cave, the cave and the grotto of Mary Magdalene are like built into a cliff, like the side of a cliff. And so the hike that is involved to get there is almost like a spiritual awakening to begin with, because like you just look at this cliff from the bottom and you're like, oh shit, like I've got to get up that. And I had been through quite a traumatic experience because a few days prior to me going to the south of France, I was in Paris because I was with my mum and she had a fall and she broke her hip and there was all sorts of issues. And I had to leave her behind in Paris to go on this adventure, really, which I had a lot of stuff coming up about. I was like, no, like I'm not leaving you in this hospital. Like there was so much going on. I actually explained it in episode 1 of this season, what had happened. And she said to me, look, there's nothing that you can do. Like you're here for this experience. You need to go. And so like I've barely even spoken about it publicly. Like I share a lot in the first episode of this season, but it's taken me so long to find even the human words to share what that experience was like and how that cracked me open, and alongside the trauma that was going on with my mum and everything that was happening back in Paris and the shit show that was Paris. Like everyone goes to Paris for love and like that, like you said, the cosmopolitan experience and the fashion, and I've still got PTSD from Paris. So, but this is the thing, like that trip even cracked me further open. Like I got to ask for help from people on a different level to what I've ever had to ask for help and rely on others. And, one of the biggest things to me through it when we got to Paris was navigating the subway, the train system. And I'd been in London the week before and having to navigate, and everything's in English. So it just makes sense. And you can read everything in English and it just makes sense. And then you go to Paris and it's a different language. And, you've got to learn so much, and you've got to have your wits about you, and you've got to get your bearings. And one of the things that I found about travel, and this really started to drop in for me when I was in London in that first week, is that, okay, I'm in a different country. I'm in a whole different experience of life. I don't have to worry about work. I'm not coaching. I'm not seeing clients. I'm not creating podcasts. I don't have my children with me, so I'm not mothering. I don't have a home to take care of. I don't have to cook all of my food and clean up. When you remove all of those pieces of your general life, you get to actually see what's left and work with what's left of you. And through that, like, it took a little bit of time to sort of recalibrate, because I'm like, I don't have to do school run. I don't have to make lunches. I don't have to make beds. I don't have to do the mopping. Everything was just so different. And so that version that of me that then existed whilst away and traveling and being in a whole different country that I'd never been to before, like, it just opens you wide up, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And I love what you just explained. Like, so many times we have like a quote unquote bad experience, but it just turns into like a beautiful memory and an amazing story, and it gives us so much. And yes, it's very unfortunate that that happened to your mom and that she broke your hip, but the lessons and the experiences and everything that came with it is just so wonderful
Yeah.
that, like, it would never have happened if you hadn't left Australia. I mean, maybe in a different way, but the experience and all the lessons wouldn't have been the same.
Exactly. And this is the thing, like, there was like even though like there was, really shitty moments of the trip that we had to navigate, there were so many earth angels along the way that were there to support us, or that we're in experiences where it was just like, oh wow, that was really cool. Or the people that, I was on retreat with, like, some of them I knew from Australia, some of them I knew but I hadn't actually met in person before, and some of them I had done like coaching containers with, and they were from overseas, and we got to meet in the flesh and just be together and hold space, and it was so incredible. Like, you don't, like you said, you don't get that from just staying in your own country and living your life. And I see now why people get the travel bug, and I see why people get addicted to it, because you're just constantly meeting a new version of yourself. Like, I found strength that I never knew existed in me, or that I never had to pull stocks from. I had to dig so deep for that whole entire trip. And it was incredible. And I met just this version of myself where I got to the end and I was like, holy fuck, who even am I?
So, what happened on this trip? Like, when you pulled away all these pieces and parts of like Jen at home with the kids in the school, what did you find?
Oh my gosh. I found the way to just breathe in the experience and just be in the present moment. And even though there was a lot of trauma going on for my mom, and then having to deal with the insurance company, the hospital, some things went down. Like, when she was in theater having surgery, someone had broken into her room and stole her iPad and her iPhone. So cutting her off completely from contact with any family back home, and then me in the south of France by then. Um, and using Google Translate, because there was only one nurse at the hospital on her ward that could speak broken English. And so she couldn't even communicate what she was experiencing, because there was no way of doing so. And it was really interesting, because I actually had a friend who, it was an online friend. We'd known each other through Instagram, and I knew that he was in Paris, and he'd reached out to me after I shared on social media that I was in Paris and I was going through this experience. And he reached out and he said, oh, look, if you just need a friend, if you want to hang out, just let me know. You can come hang out with me and my partner and my friends and take your mind off things. And I was like, wow, that's really sweet. I'm actually heading to the south soon, but thank you so much. And then after my mum's stuff got stolen, I actually reached out to him and I was like, hey, I don't know who else to ask, but I really, really need help. Can you please help me source a phone and a SIM card? And I need to get it to the hospital. And he was incredible. He was like, the next day he was at the hospital with my mum with a phone and a SIM card, setting up WhatsApp for her so that we could be in communication. And it was
Wow.
just like, what the fuck? Like, how did this happen? Like, I felt so divinely guided through that, and just so grateful that even though we were having this horrendous traumatic experience, we were still so held. And I noticed in myself, like, I had to care for my mum and hold space for my mum, who was not okay at the time. I was then having to hold space for my family back home, and my sister was holding the fort in Australia. So we would, because we were on opposite sides of the day, essentially, we would kind of tag team who was in touch with mum, who was in touch with the insurance company, what we were trying to do, all the paperwork we needed from the hospital, if we were going to try and get an air ambulance back to Australia or have the surgery there. Like, there was so many moving parts to it. And in all of it, so I'm trying to like have this travel experience, and I'm trying to like at times I'm like, I just want to go to the Eiffel Tower or the Louvre or like eat some food. And it was like, okay, I got like a little sort of whisper of that, and then I'd have to like drop into carer mode. And so, but the whole thing, just showed me the strength that I had inside. And it was so interesting because, even my journey with working with Mary Magdalene, like she came to me in a medicine ceremony last year, and I was like, not now. I don't have time. Like, I'm not looking at this. I don't have time to work with you right now. It's so bad, isn't it? And then, this Mary Magdalene retreat became available, and there was nothing stopping me from going. And then just embodying, the divine feminine that she is, and then, encompassing all of that into who I was and bringing that forward into my life and who I had to be to hold that space, for my mom and for my family and then for myself. And then realizing, just all of the moving parts that got us there to that trip, and even still, like we joke about, like, what the fuck, like what the fuck, Paris, by the end of it, we were just like, fucking Paris, it's still a soft point for us. But, my mom and I, like, our relationship that we now get to experience through going through that together is the most strongest, most connected, the most compassionate, beautiful relationship. So I know that trip happened exactly how it was meant to for both of our journeys and, collectively together as well.
I absolutely love this story. So first of all, reminder for everyone, get travel insurance, because if
Oh my
not,
God, yes. Oh, I cannot recommend. We had the top cover of travel insurance. Cannot recommend it highly enough. I'm not sponsored by them, but I will drop the name. So in Australia, we have a company called NIB Insurance. I could not fault them. They were incredible the whole way. Like, have travel insurance like to the max, because if you need it, you will need it.
oh yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that 100%. If
Mm.
like a lot of times you won't need it, but if you need it, you will thank anyone and everyone that you
Oh my
actually have it.
Yeah. Yep. It's a
Get
big
it.
one. Yep.
And then second thing that I wanted to say is, isn't it crazy how so often we grow up hearing about like the stranger danger and don't trust anyone and traveling is dangerous and other people, can be a danger and whatsoever, long stories, right? And then you are in Paris and you literally get help from an almost stranger that you only know over social media. Like, they have no obligation whatsoever to help you, and yet they go out of their way, they help you. And I have experienced it so many times, right? But I love hearing it from other people. I was like, yeah, people help you.
Yeah.
People are
Yeah.
kind. People are here to help you. They want you to have a good time. They want you to have a good experience. And whenever you're in need, people will come up and they will help you.
Yes. And interestingly enough, like, I actually hadn't heard the voice of this particular friend. We'd chatted on social media because I knew that he'd been in Brisbane where I live. And I think that's how we first connected. We couldn't even figure out how we'd first connected. It was just divine timing. Anyway, I actually thought he was French because I knew that he was living back over in Paris with his partner. I'd seen it, on social media. And it wasn't until he like video called me when he was in the hospital with my mom, and he video called me to show me that he was with her and she had a phone and that she was safe. And he was Australian. He's from Brisbane. He's from where I am. He's living over in Paris. I was just like, what even is this? Like, even after, because mum had the accident on the night that we arrived, which was the Sunday night. It wasn't until Wednesday I had to call call an ambulance, because that's a different story, but she kind of persevered with a broken leg. But I called for an ambulance multiple times. I got disconnected. I got put through to an interpreter and got disconnected again. No one spoke English. So I was trying to say in broken English that I need an ambulance, and I ended up running out onto the street and finding someone like, do you speak English? So they spoke French and English. So I was relaying in English, and they're on the phone to emergency services, telling them everything and the address, because that's all right. They couldn't even find the address in the system. And I'm trying to explain it. And so I ran out onto the street, and this beautiful man helped me. And then literally a couple of days later, whilst I was still at the Airbnb, he was walking past again. He's like, "Oh my God, hey, how's your mom?" And I was like, "Oh my God, thank you so much for your help. Like, it was amazing that that you were right there when I needed you." And like, I just felt so held, and this is the
Yeah.
thing, like, asking people for help, asking people for directions, just chatting to random people along the way as well. You get to meet freaking cool people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh my God. I just love this experience so much. And even like this whole journey is like nothing what you expected of Paris, but
No,
everything you needed.
exactly. Everything I needed to crack me wide open. And I also got to experience a lot of things on my own in Paris as well, because by the time, mum was in hospital and I couldn't do anything outside of visiting
Yeah.
hours for her. So I got to go out and experience Paris. And it was still so heart opening as well. Like, I was walking around Paris, it was so freaking hot, and I was looking at the Eiffel Tower and I was just walking everywhere. I was doing like 40,000 steps a day. And I just kept reminding myself, yeah, there's a lot going on, but I'm in Paris. I'm in Paris. I'm in Paris. And it was just cool. Like, it was an incredible experience. And at the end of the day, like, I'm still so heartwarmed by that trip, like, even though, it was stressful, gosh, it was just everything. Even though it was all the things, it was still everything.
Yeah. And that's another part that I love about travel. Like in a few years or even in a few months whatsoever, you will forget about the pain. You will
Yeah.
forget about like all the hardship and you will just keep the story and the memories.
Yeah.
And that's like this beauty of travel. Like all this, like, oh my God, what happened? Like, why was this so difficult? You'll forget about all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like childbirth. You forget about how painful it is, and that's why you go back for a second one. I remember after I had my daughter, I'm like, how the fuck do people have multiple children? Like, who does that to themselves? And then, like, you literally block out the pain and you're like, yeah, I could do that again. Yeah, let's have another baby.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I'd love to hear, Vivi, from you. What's your favorite travel story?
I have so many. One particular one was we were in South Africa. My favorite animal has always been a leopard. And we were in a national park. We were there right at 6 a.m. when the gate opened. Gate closes at 6 p.m., so we had pretty much 12 hours driving around. We saw all the animals, beautiful animals, but no leopard. And I was so determined to see the freaking leopard that we took a big detour. And by the time it was like 5 o'clock, I noticed that we wouldn't be making it out of the park in time. And there's a speed limit. You're not allowed to go more than, I believe it's like between 30 and 50 kilometers an hour, depending on the road, just so you don't drive over any animals that come out of the bush. And I was like, I have no choice. I need to drive faster because otherwise we'll get stuck in here. So I started speeding up, driving a little bit faster, and suddenly this baby elephant runs across across the street right in front of our car, like literally not even 5 meters away. It was right there. Followed by the baby elephant was mama elephant and sister elephant and auntie elephant and uncle elephant and a whole elephant family of like 20 to 30 elephants started crossing right in front of our car. And I was so conflicted because in one time I was like, this is so beautiful and such an amazing experience. And on the other hand, I was like, I gotta go. So we watched it in awe. We're like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever. And then as they were almost gone, I tried to drive around them and started speeding up. But Mama Elephant was not really happy with that, so she started chasing us down the road.
Oh my gosh.
But nothing happened. We made it out in time. We had a beautiful experience. And we still got back in time.
Oh, wow, that's incredible. So you didn't see the leopard?
I still didn't see the leopard, and I ended up hitchhiking a few years later from Tanzania all the way down to South Africa to Zambia and Zimbabwe. I went to the national parks with the highest density of leopards. It disappeared. It didn't want to be seen. So one of my friends took me to an orphanage for leopards, and I saw them there, but unfortunately not yet in the wild.
Right. So you've just got to keep traveling now. You got to keep going back until that happens for you, really.
I know, I know. I'm waiting for that leopard experience. I guess it has to be very special. So
Yeah. What do you find is like, what is people's resistance to traveling, do you think? Like you and I have, like you've done obviously quite extensive travel. I've done what I would say is very minimal travel, yet I'm like so excited. I feel like I've got the travel bug at the moment. What is it that holds people back?
there's a few things. For a lot of people, they're like, well, I don't know how much money it's going to cost me. Travel is very expensive. I don't know if I can afford it. They don't know how to travel in a way that works for them, which, oh my God, there's so many ways from like zero money to very little. You can make it work 100%, no matter how much money you have. Then there's time. A lot of people have jobs that is very like time restricted and they don't have that much time to travel. A lot of people also have that fear of I don't have friends that want to come with me and I don't want to go by myself. I have lots of people that come with that problem and they're just not like wanting to have this experience on them by themselves, or they don't trust themselves to actually go out and travel alone. I
Mm.
would say these are the main three. And then also, I don't know how it's in Australia, to be honest, but in Canada and USA, a lot of people are actually scared. There's that fear of other countries are dangerous. So that's a big one too here.
Yeah, we have that a fair bit. Like there's certain countries that are dangerous that I probably wouldn't travel to or travel to alone. I would love to travel with my children in a couple of years' time and even, take 6 months off and travel with because I don't have a partner, and look, if he's not going to turn up anytime soon, I'm just going to go explore the world without him. But I would love to take the children with me, and I would probably travel with a nanny or an au pair to, have the
Yeah.
children. I mean, they're 7 and 9 now. Like I want to do as many experiences as possible with them, but I also want to be able to do things on my own. To take an extra set of hands with me would be ideal, or take someone with me that's travels with people to show them the experiences and help them book. And because I think one of the biggest fears I have is just not knowing where to go or what to do or how things work. Because I'm not, I guess, a seasoned traveler. There's a lot of things that I learned even going to London, like even just down to my bank card's not working, or like my Australian SIM card for my phone, having to get a data SIM and not realizing that I'd actually need a phone number to contact, Australia, and the insurance company, and try and keep in touch with my mom. Like you can't just call people off WhatsApp all the time, like just the little things that I didn't even realize. And that like even when I got over there, I was trying to transfer money onto. I had like it's called Revolut, and it's like an app that's like a bank card that attaches to like your Apple Wallet, which is like a credit card that you just tap and go, and you just put credit on it. Essentially, you just put money on it. But when I was trying to transfer money from my main account onto that, there was a limit that I could transfer, and so it would send me a text message to confirm it with a code. But my Australian SIM card,
Hate
luckily I
that.
took my SIM card with me, but I have to switch it out, and then I had to wait for it to connect, and sometimes it wouldn't, and then it was charging me an absolute fortune, because even though I had roaming on, like it's like we get charged ridiculous amounts here for telecommunications. But just all these little things that I just had to learn, which I just didn't even know. And then also to find out like how you use the subway, and how you even like get around with the like paying for transport. Like, do you need a card over there, or do you just like tap your credit card and go, or do you need paper tickets, all that kind of stuff. And so you learn as you go. And I think this is what travel also, can show you, is that, how to do things in other countries. Like if I went back to Paris, I'd be like, oh, I know exactly which train line to get on now. Like I could get myself around easily. I could, I'm such a seasoned pro at Paris, being there for like 5 days. but that's the thing, like you learn these things along the way, and like you said, like you come out with really bloody cool stories. I mean, like I love elephants. They're one of my favorite animals. So that would have just been the most incredible experience for you.
Yeah, like that's part of the things. Like you learn as you go, but also now that you know that there are all these little challenges that could come up, next time that you go, you can prepare better. You can
Yeah.
learn more. You can do more travel planning and see, okay, what kind of travel style do I want? What do I need to know? And then do the travel research that actually works for you. Like some people like watching YouTube videos. Some people like seeing Instagram photos of like what's the vibiest places. And then just thinking about these, okay, what do I need? So for me, the most important thing is how do I get from the airport to my accommodation? And
Mm,
once you have that figured out, the rest, you can figure it out as you go. Because the metro
yes.
system usually, once you're in a place where you can walk to a metro, you can just go to the place there and ask someone, and someone will help you, or there's a little,
Yes.
machine, no problem. But
Yes.
it's
It's
like the
so easy.
getting,
Yeah.
it is easy once you have the confidence, once you've done it once or twice, and you're like, it's not even a big problem,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Now next time you go to a different city, especially European city, you're like, okay, well, I figured it out in Paris, I can figure it out here.
Yes, exactly that. And like I think, you've obviously got to have your wits about you. For me it was like, okay, as making sure that my especially in Paris, I didn't have any issues there, but just making sure my bag was always close to me and that everything was zipped up and I knew where my bag was at all times. Making sure that, my passport was always safe and I had copies of my passport, I had copies of my my bank cards, all the stuff that you need.
Yeah.
But you can't expect a trip to ever just go so perfectly because like the growth happens when like shit hits the fan really, or like you miss the train or you get on the wrong thing and you've got to figure it out. And it was interesting because traveling with my mum, especially while we're in London, she was very particular about things, and it's like very very planned and very calculated and this and that, and I'm just quite free spirited, and even though I like to plan, I'm a Virgo, so I like to have things in order. I'm a bit of a control freak, but being in that space of travel, I see it as just such an adventure and just so much room to learn and grow. And because you don't have those day-to-day life things that are happening around you, you get to experience other things that are going to help you grow. And I think it's just so important to just get out there and do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, like your mom's travel style is very different than your travel style. So
Mm.
it might work out very well for a couple of days, a couple of weeks. But if you wanted to do something like a 6 month adventure or something longer with your children, that eventually might clash, right?
Mm.
So it's really good to know these things beforehand, know your travel style, because I've traveled with people before where I thought like, oh my God, they're my best friends, it's gonna be amazing. And after the trip, we're like, I don't want to talk to you anymore because
Yes.
this did not work out very well.
Yes,
Right?
like I want to do a lot more travel on my own because first of all, I love my own company, but
Yeah.
second of all, I don't have to take into consideration anyone else's needs, and I say that with love. Like I enjoyed being on the trip with my mum. We walk at a very different pace. We like to look at different types of shops. We eat different kinds of food. We want to hang out at different areas. There was a lot of things like, for example, when we were in London, she was so excited to go to Parliament House. And I was like, oh, yeah, cool, nice building. I'm going to hate politics, but I'll go along kind of thing. And then, like, somehow we got into, like, right inside Parliament where there was a live political debate. And she was like, oh, my God, this is the best thing ever. And I'm just there. I'm like, I fucking hate politics, but I appreciate like, the building and the artwork and the architecture, like it was just very different. And like you compromise in travel. If you're traveling with someone.
Yeah.
But if I'm going places, I want to go on my own or with, my children who don't really get a say. Or with a partner that, we're on the same page about what it is that we want to experience. I think that's such a big part of it as well, because you've got to spend so much time generally in quite close quarters with these people as well that you want to be able to get on.
Oh, absolutely. So when I travel or when I talk to people about travel, what I always say is like everyone has a lens on how they experience travel and what they see about travel. So my lens is adventure. I love adventures. Not the most political person either. I'm also not really a foodie. I appreciate good food, but I'm not going crazy about food. My
Mm.
partner is. He's a foodie. He loves food. He could eat all day, especially when we're traveling. And I'm just like, okay, it's just food. Like, what's the big deal about it? So I always have that in consideration. So if we go on an adventure, if I take him hiking, if I take him to a viewpoint, I make sure I have snacks, I make sure I have food, I have something to like keep his side of like what really makes him happy in consideration, have that in there too. So that's always good to remember, like what is it that your mom likes, what is it that you like, how can you intertwine it, how can you merge it.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's so important. And, Mum and I were actually talking about this yesterday. We can't remember what the word was, but we had a code word. And basically, we could whip out the code word if one of us was having a feeling and we just needed space or we just needed to diffuse a situation. Because at the best of times, like, Mum and I, we get on, but we're both quite stubborn as well. And we can, like, there's been plenty of times where we've clashed before and we were like, fuck, we're like going to be together for like 3 solid weeks together, close quarters, sleeping in the same, room or close by, constantly doing things together. Like this is really could potentially strain our relationship if we don't have our wits about us. And so we actually came up with a code word. I'm so bummed. We were trying to remember it yesterday. It's so funny we're talking about it today. But yeah, we had a code word that was like, okay, if we need to whip this out, we can. And neither of us did. And look, we were only together essentially for the week in London. And then we got to Paris and that's when she had the fall and then everything changed from there. But I think it's so important to communicate your boundaries, communicate your desires and what it is that you do want to experience and really listen to what the other person has to say as well, because you don't want to get to the end of the trip and, like you said before, like resent the other person. It's like, I can't travel with you. You do my fucking head in.
Yeah, yeah, you don't want that at all. So especially if you're
Mm.
going on a road trip and you're gonna spend a big number of time with the person confined in the car, you want to make
Yes.
sure it's the right person or you've communicated your intentions and your needs beforehand. And I love that your mom and you had a code word. Like that's the coolest thing ever.
It's our safe word. It was like pineapples or something. I don't know. But yes, that's the thing. Like, and also I think it's really, really important to have time apart in that as well, to go and do your own things and say, look, I'll meet you for dinner in 6 hours time. I'm going to go and experience this. I remember once we got to Paris and it was after the fall. Mum had spent a day resting. She pushed herself on the following day because she really wanted to see the sights. And I said, look, you sit on the big red bus. I'll get off at the stops and go and explore, but you get to see everything from the roof of the bus. So she did that. So she still got to experience, what she could of Paris, incapacitated as she was, but she still got to experience a lot of things. And I got to have that alone time because it was a lot. We'd spent, so much time together side by side in London. And then, obviously when things started happening in Paris, I was like, I just need my space. And then interestingly, once she was in hospital and I felt all alone in this big city, I was like, well, I kind of had the intention I was going to travel alone initially. So whoops.
Did I
um,
just pause that?
yeah, but it was like, okay, communication is key when traveling with another person, especially like even with a partner as well. You don't know, like you don't know the pressure in a relationship essentially until you travel together. I'm sure you've had that with your partner as well. But my ex and I, we never actually traveled overseas. We traveled like interstate a little bit, but we were very similar. So we're very fast moving. We like the same type of food. We like the same kind of places. We like going off the beaten track as well. So instead of going to like a mainstream restaurant, we want to find like the hidden alleyways with the really cool places that you can go to. So we knew that if we were ever going to travel overseas when we were together, that we'd probably travel really well because we move at the same pace and we're into the same things. And if that was, say, for example, my sister, it would be such a different experience. Like there would be I don't know how I'd go traveling with my sister, to be honest. But I think, yeah, you need to have the right personality type to be traveling with.
Absolutely. Like I always said, like if you really want to travel, like you should travel with someone to really find out who they are, because it's one way to be who you are at home and to get along with that person when you're in your normal day-to-day life. And when you're traveling, all these emotions come up, things go wrong. Like, you don't have to break your hip, but things actually can go wrong all the time. Emotions come up, frustration, tiredness, whatever it is. And to really experience each other and how you handle each other in these situations is so key. So, if you try out a weekend, it goes well, go for longer.
Yeah.
But don't just go on a 6-month trip with someone you don't know.
Yes, absolutely. I've got a question for you, Vivi. What's been your most enlightening experience traveling?
Oh, so many. So I love traveling to spiritual places because you really feel a different energy. So one of the most enlightening experiences I had were we were in Tibet and we were going to Everest Base Camp. Now, if you travel in Tibet, you have to go with a guide. It's one of the requirements. You cannot just go by yourself like you would normally. And the day came that we were driving up to Everest Base Camp. We have to drive through the mountains, up and down. And I asked the guide, like, how likely is it that we're actually going to see Everest without any clouds? Himalayas, you have usually lots of clouds. Most people go there, they never actually see a bit of the mountain. They just go there to say, well, I've been there, great. He said, you know what, in the last 10 years, I've seen it twice. And I'm like, oh.
Wow, is that
That's
how bad
very...
it is?
It can be,
Wow.
depending on when you go and how you go. But I had that feeling, I'm like, no, I came here all this way. And that time I was traveling with my parents. I'm like, we have to see it. Like, I know we're gonna see it. Like, we went through all this trouble to get here. We're gonna see it. And I tell you not, we went over the last mountain and we saw the whole panoramic view. The whole entire panoramic view of all the mountains, including Mount Everest. Not a single cloud. Not one cloud. And it was so funny because the car went over that last hill and everyone was like, wow. Even the guide said he had never seen it like that. And I
Wow.
knew, I totally called in for that experience. I'm like, I came here, I have to see it. And I
Well,
just
duh,
knew.
yeah. I'm here. Clear the way. Don't you know who I am? Honestly, like, get these clouds out of here.
And I kid you not, the whole afternoon, the whole mountain was cloud free, which is very, very rare. The next day, I woke up because we stayed there just in case, to extend your your chances of actually seeing a bit of the mountain. I woke up. I was completely sick, altitude sickness, and we looked out. It was full of clouds. You would not have even known that there's a mountain in front of you. And he's
Oh,
like, yeah, that's how it
wow.
usually is every single day. I'm like, wow, we were so lucky.
Oh, wow.
So
That's
yeah, that
incredible.
experience and being at that place, which is really like emotionally charged and energetically charged, is amazing.
Yeah, that's incredible. Oh my gosh. I could talk to you for hours and hours and hours about travel. And it sounds like you've got some really cool stories too. So as a consultant and mentor, do you work with people? Are you an agent? Tell us about the work that you do and how people can get in touch with you.
So how people get in touch with me, just reach out over my social medias or over Facebook. It's at Vivi Wilds. And I am not an agent. I do not just do like the normal bookings, because what I do is I work with normal people just like you who want to travel, but they don't know where to start, where to go, how to deal with things. They have fears of like, oh, how does the metro system work? Or where should I go? Or what if this happens? What if my bag gets stolen? Should I get a travel insurance or not? And we talk through all of their insecurities. We make sure that travel is planned as much or as little as they feel comfortable to. We set everything, we get everything ready so that they just feel confident to go out, have the best adventure, and create beautiful memories. And then a lot of times, if they're traveling, when they're traveling, they can also reach out to me and say, hey, I'm experiencing this and this. How do I deal with this? What should I do in this situation? How would you handle this? How can I deepen my experience? Or well, I was really excited for this trip, but now that happened. What should I do?
I'm sorry, where were you when I needed you in June, Vivi?
Sorry, I was still here.
It sounds like you're like a travel fairy godmother. Like everyone needs a Vivi in their life.
That's literally what we do. Like, I've traveled to over 70 countries. I've done it all, from like the hitchhiking sort of thing to the luxury thing. Whatever you're experiencing, I most likely have experienced it, or I know how to deal with it.
That's
So
so cool.
whatever travel challenges come up, whatever problems you're facing, there's always a solution. There's always a mindset shift. There's always something you can do. And that's basically the work that I do, because I really care about people adventuring their life, like people going out there experiencing more than the normal social life, like get your kids, get your house, work, retire, and then have fun. No, have fun along the way. Like, do what you want to love, experience this world, because there's so much out there to be experienced, so much out there to be lived. Why wait?
Yes, I love it. So we will link in the show notes to how people can contact you. And I feel like you just answered the next question, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Vivi Wilds, what is the meaning of life?
For me, it is to adventure your life, to have as much fun, have the most incredible experiences, do anything and everything that you want to do.
Yeah, I love it. Amazing. Thank you so much for being part of the Enlightened podcast. This has been so enlightening. I've got the travel bug. I've got the itch. I've got to go start making a mood board of all the places I want to go now. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jen. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. I hope you love the Enlightened podcast, and the biggest compliment you can give me is subscribing to this podcast, sharing it, and leaving a rating and review. Feel free to follow me on Instagram. My handle is @JenHamiltonOfficial, and the podcast handle is Enlightened_podcast. You can also find the video version on YouTube on my channel. Just search Enlightened, and don't forget to hit subscribe. Have a beautiful day and enjoy living the enlightened journey of life.